So very good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're tuning in from. My name is Marco Marsh. I am a member of the Space Generation Advisory Council and a member of the Space in Southeast Asia webinar series team. So it's very good to have you here to join us for this very special session about careers in Southeast Asia. We're joined with some very special guests who Gillian will be walking you through as moderator in a little bit. Before we kick things off, I'm going to give you a brief outline for who we are at SGAC, why we exist, and some of the initiatives and tasks that we deliver. So without any delay, I'm going to share my screen and hopefully all this lines up. Okay, so welcome again. SGAC, or the Space Generation Advisory Council, is a nonprofit network organization working in close cooperation with the United Nations. It is an outcome of the 1999 Unispace that was in support of the United Nations Program on Space Applications. It's been around for a while. For those who are interested in joining SGAC, it serves a number of purposes, but amongst them, it's a fantastic way to connect with your peers and other professionals within the space industry. Many members are between the ages of 18 and 35, and you can link up, connect, tag up with them in various ways, and these are some of the handles which you can go and do that. We also recommend you check out the SGAC website if you're curious about some of the things that we do. So why does SGAC exist? It's there to create a global volunteer base of university students and young professionals in the space industry who have a passion for making a difference in space and have a commitment for action. So you'll find a lot of initiatives and a lot of people here who tend to take action and serve purposes for the betterment of the global space community. And again, as I said earlier, it's about connecting people to their peers, to space professionals from various organizations around the world. We'll touch on it briefly about the reach of those organizations. It's also an opportunity to give the next generation some opportunities in leadership and to provide a global voice in these space policy discussions. So SGAC has quite a wide reach. As of February this year, I think, it's spanned across 6 regions, continents, over 168 countries now, I think, and 15,000 plus members. There are 5 primary pillars which SGAC operates, including events like today, project groups, professional development, scholarships, and unrelated activities. And we recommend you have a look, if you're curious again, into the details of each of these on the website. So if you are interested in joining, folks who come in have an opportunity to do a lot of things. For example, this being a case study for Tania Robles from Nicaragua. She's delivering a webinar series about analog missions. So if you're interested into something like that, or medicine, law, engineering, there's a place for just about everything here. So we encourage you to participate, join, ask questions. We welcome your ideas. There are many different events such as this, such as workshops, conferences. If you know the International Astronautical Congress, it's happening in Dubai this year, which SGAC has a presence in. So check us out. And with that, thank you. And I'll hand you over into the very capable hands of Gillian to take it from here. Gillian.
Thank you, Marco. So just before we kind of just have everyone, our panelists turn on their cameras so that we can put them in screen. Okay. Hold on. There we go. Minor technical issue there, but we are all good now. So hello everyone, good afternoon. I'm Jillian. I am the NPOC for SGAC in Singapore. And I will also be your moderator for today. And joining me on today's panel, we have three fantastic panelist speakers. We have Dr. Mimi, who is the founder of SpaceIn, a spin-off company of USM, or the University of Malaysia. We have Dr. Gia from SpaceZab in Thailand. And we have Dr. Hien, who from the Vietnamese German University. So thank you to our panelists for joining us today. We hope that, well, I'm super excited to hear all your insights for talking about like the career opportunities for our youth in the space industry in Southeast Asia. But kind of to kick things off a little bit, kind of want to know what was it that actually got you guys interested in the space industry, and what helped you, what got you into your current position today? And maybe we can start with Dr. Mimi.
Hello everyone, good afternoon, good morning. I think there's this echo. Okay, all right. I think I started have interest in space during my undergrad, but actually during that time I have to choose between electrical and aerospace. And aerospace, it sound wow, boom, something like that, right? Then I choose aerospace. Then I finished my degree and I started working in an automobile company. But then I realized that I have passion in space. Then I back to USM, my university, and continued to be lecturer. So I've studied for about 4 years, then started to be lecturer. And I think the time that I really active or involved in space is during 2014. That was the year I've been selected as a recipient for the Emerging Space Leader Grant by IAF, International Astronautical Federation, in Toronto on that time. Then I met a few guys from SGAC. That was the first time I involved in SGAC. And actually, it makes me more curious or more interest in this area. And I've met a lot of people, all are very energetic, all very high spirit. So it actually pushed me to work more in industry. Then when I'm back to USM, I did it to my student. I gather them, I bring them to conference, and I look the difference when I bring them to conference for SGW, for example. And I think that we need to do more for this industry. So a part of space educations, and I think that this generation needs something in the future. So they don't, in Malaysia, for example, we don't really have very big industry for the space. So I have to do something. So if not me, who else? Or I know that anyone can do this, but I can start myself. So I'm thinking to have a company. Then on last year, I think in last year, my university opened to lecturer to have a spin-off. Then I started this with my postgraduate. So you can see that it's progressing from involving in space event and meeting new people, networking. It really support me to be really active in the space industry and realize that this industry is very important and I have to do something. So the key word here is you can't work alone, you have to work together, and you get the spirit and you know what to do. So be together with others with the same aspiration really help you in the industry.
Dr. Mimi, I love that you said the if not me, who else kind of thing. I think it kind of defines that a lot of the things that we decide to do, we can start a lot of things, even if it seems a little out of our reach. I think handing over to Dr. Gia, what was it that got you interested to join the space industry?
Okay, I'm a Canadian, so if you are in the North Pole and the South Pole, then that is a phenomena that you can see in the winter. It's called the Northern Light or the Southern Light. I don't know any have seen it. It's called Aurora Borealis. Okay, it's a very fascinating phenomena, interaction between the solar wind and wind on Earth. So I did, my PhD in physics, and that's what I got to study. And some of these trips, I have to go to the north and collect these data, and I also working with people analyzing data, sending back from satellite. And then about 10 years ago, there's this movement called CubeSat. If you're in space, then you should be aware of that. So that when the National Science Foundation start say, okay, I'm going to make a risk, start building scientific CubeSat. Okay, so basically they gave university a budget about $900,000 to build a scientific satellite. Okay, so the CubeSat supposed to collect some science and do high risk because before that, normally NASA project would cost you like $200 million each satellite. Okay, so and then the CubeSat had it had been really a phenomenon. It's like what you call the PC revolution to space compared to the 70s. The IBM is very big, and the big company, only the big company have the computer, and now everyone have their own IBM supercomputer on your cell phone, right? Your cell phone have more computing power than a supercomputer in the 1980s. Okay, so basically, I think this is open up a brand new area, and I have been working at a very small university in the U.S. and we collaborate with big university because in aerospace, even in the U.S. and Canada, only very few selected universities have this kind of program. Okay, so I think the whole U.S. only have about 50 universities that have aerospace program. Okay, so we got to work with them, and we also get to work with NASA. In fact, I'm leading a project at a small university in U.S. Virgin Island, and we are working with NASA Goddard. And the project is to put a gamma ray camera to see this phenomenon called gamma ray burst. Gamma ray burst is the most, when it happens, it lasts less than 2 seconds, but it gives our power compared to equivalent to the whole universe. Okay, and recently, 2 years ago, they detect the third gravitational wave from a project called LIGO. That project, observe the wave that Einstein predict, and they win a Nobel Prize. So now the big field in astrophysics, they try to study multi-messenger astrophysics. Okay, so when the thing happen, then what do you see in all the different frequencies? Okay, so I've been back to Vietnam about 4 years ago, and I see, and I hope we have more hand-on project, more small project that the student at university level or even at high school can get involved. Because the space you can do space with very low cost. Okay, like in fact there a university in a group of students from Brown University in the U.S. They built a satellite for $5,000, and in fact I think they helping a group in Cambodia to get themselves to learn about CubeSat right now. Okay, so you don't have to wait for the big agency from the government to come down, because sometimes the way they do things are not very efficient. So I think there is still a lot of movement for space, especially the so-called IoT concept. Yeah, so that's what I want to do. But, maybe just like Europe, I think the Asian country, we need to work together. If the ESA, the European Space Agency, and I don't see a so-called equivalent for Asia yet. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Hien. I think Dr. Hien brought up a
that's
very
my
good
message.
point.
Stay big and have a lot. Okay.
Yeah, I think Dr. Hien brought up a very good point, which is that the space industry has changed quite drastically from what we knew it as from, I think, 30, 40 years ago, which is a lot of the rocket launches to the moon and all this, and the industry has changed so significantly, and it's a lot easier for people to access the space industry now than it was all those years ago. And I'm pretty sure this is a topic that we're going to go into a little bit more later on in the panel. But then for our last speaker, Dr. Gear, perhaps you can talk a little bit about what was it that got you into the space industry.
I am a space enthusiastic people, and I have a dream to become a space robotic. And I was joined in the space sector as a pushing my dream career. Moreover, I also see the opportunity in the space industry, which I have had been expanding in this present. So I together with the founder the deep space technology startup in Thailand around 4 years ago. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Gear. Yeah, I think the space has always just been very easy for the public to be fascinated in. It's one of those topics that is just exciting for everybody. So I like that dreams like that can just has become a possibility for us to actually pursue as careers. But then I think just to kind of address a bit of the elephant in the room. So we've been in, I think, the last year and a half, we have been in the middle of a pandemic, as everyone knows, and the pandemic has been, it has evolved quite drastically in the last 1 year and a half in several different ways, and has affected a lot of industries, including the aerospace industry. And I think it's important that we talk a little bit about how the pandemic has affected the current industry, because for a lot of our youth, this is going to be what they're facing in the coming years, and also what we can expect, how we can expect the industry to change in the next few years as we recover from this. So perhaps you can start with Dr. Mimi again, come back around.
Yeah, I think space industry is business as usual. You can see that because I'm in industry now. I'm doing my work, even though I have to be at home, I still can do my work. And even though we can't, we have limitation to go to the lab, but we still we can do the work because for me, space have less interaction as compared to the aerospace, the other aeronautical, the aviation especially. And we can see that this is a problem only when you have a mass production. But for space, we seldom or rarely have the mass production to have something. Maybe only Starlink have that because they have lots of satellite, but it's not many company involved in that kind of mass production. So I don't really think it's really affect on the space industry. And even I see that during this pandemic, more space company emerge, and because they can sit proper, they can sit and they at home thinking of new things and new idea come out, and you can see there is a two biggest history in the space, which we have Sir Richard Branson and also Jeff Bezos go to the space, which is initiate the space tourism era. So I don't really see pandemic really affected on this COVID-19. And I think in the future, there's more, I think the demand from us to have the space related technology. For example, during this COVID, we realized that internet is very, very important. And we can see, even in Malaysia, this is a hot topic when we need to do our e-learning or we have to learn through internet. And certain area in the remote area, they doesn't have this internet facilities. And it's very, I think it's very difficult to have this facility because of the demography, very remote area. So satellite is very important. Then we realized that this is actually the space technology that we need to invest. So there is one company in Malaysia, when during this pandemic, they realized that, oh, Malaysia need internet, and they do the action. And now we have, if I can say here, Angkasa X, they're going to have this constellation of satellite at LEO for the remote area, especially to cover the internet. So you see that this pandemic give them the idea because they see what the technology can solve. So for me, the pandemic is actually opportunity, in fact, of something that we can say give a bad reputation or bad effect to the space industry.
Thank you, Dr. Mimi. Dr. Hien, if you have anything to add or personally share about your experiences working in the space industry in the last year and a half to this.
Okay, well, I mean, well, as you know, I mean, NASA has been shut down too. So, and we are, so basically, you know, people do something from home, and, you know, we try to train students, and so basically it was difficult. But I think the key thing is now, just like the other speaker was saying, well, we now rely on internet more. Like on Tuesday, I will have an online exam for my student, and one of the things about online exam, and you have to watch them. So what happens if the internet from one of them connection drop? So you let that student fail or what? Okay, and also, you know, I think, you know, you can see this year had been a very hot year in Europe. Literally, the forest is burning. So I think we need to know more about our Mother Earth, you know, more frequently, what happened to the forest, you know, in Malaysia and Indonesia, and, you know, what can we do to prevent the you know, smog era. Like I heard that even in Singapore, there's some day you cannot go out because the whole sky is black. Okay, so what can we do? A group, you know, because I'm involved in study air pollution, and there the 10 national polluted, you know, pollution event. So basically, the pollution doesn't come from your area; it comes from another country. Okay, so how can we work together to you know, prevent these things from happen? Because, you know, we all suffer from it, and, you know, and space is one platform to observe. But remember, when we talk about space, it don't have to be some satellite plant up there. You know, it can be, you know, some UAV or balloon, you know, or these things coming back, like, you know, like a balloon that were, you know, like if you heard of the Hindenburg fiasco, that were a big balloon, and they carry hydrogen, right? And they carry people and they burn up, right? But those things are coming back because they move slow, but they don't consume a lot of energy, and they don't give up, you know, gas that destroy the environment. I forgot the name for this thing, but, you know, the Hindenburg incident. Okay, so all these things are coming back, and people also try it out to move things across the ocean. Okay, and, you know, within space, then you have the internet, and you have GPS, right? You need to know where you are more accurately, because I'm a space physicist, and in the equatorial area that we all living in right now, you know, Malaysia, Indonesia, we have a phenomenon called electrojet. Okay, that comes from the sun. Okay, so when that thing get active, then your signal will get lost. Okay, so we need to study them. You know, we also dealing with the application of GPS, like illegal fishing, right? Like, you know, like that. What happened if a boat from one country go to other country to get the fish? So there is more down to earth application, and the CubeSat IoT. Then you know, you need to relay information, very low bit rate of information. So basically, what I'm saying is we need to take care of our Mother Earth more. Okay, and then this awareness, I think we can do something, but we have to do it together. You know, like the green movement. You know, in Europe is very strong, right? In Germany, there's a party called the Green Party, right? You know, so we need to do that. And, you know, in some of our country, you know, like we are under pressure, and, you know, there is a lot of evidence, like the palm oil industry destroy our forest and things like that. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Hien. I think Dr. Mimi brought up a good point, which is that we always think the aerospace industry. In the space industry falls under the aerospace industry, but when it comes into it, it functionally works quite differently. And even though the aerospace industry has taken quite a big impact during the COVID-19 pandemic, from my own experiences as well, I don't see the space industry being hit that hard. And Dr. Hien, as you mentioned, that it's a good time for us, and with the whole everyone working from home and us exploring new ways to use technology, which for some reason we didn't think of doing before. New ways to explore technology, we can address other issues. We can use space tech to address other issues such as climate change and finding solutions to things like global warming.
But
yes.
Sorry,
Yes,
when we said about the aerospace industry and space is different, but you will see the future, they will be intersect between that two industry, because when we have the one like a suborbital where you have the spaceport, you can land your aircraft, but then you can go for the orbit. So it's something that will be actually combination of two. You will see that when we have the space tourism and everything, this will be different in the future.
That is a very good point. The space industry in the future will probably look very different from what we see of it now as well. But yeah, and I think that just kind of addresses another thing, which is that the space industry has a tendency to move and evolve very fast. It's constantly changing, and as such, I think it can be quite daunting for a lot of our youths to actually think about joining the space industry. It is a career path that I think a lot of people don't typically consider just because of how intimidating it seems. So just to hear from like maybe Dr. Gia, we could get your insight on this. What are some things that maybe the industry or even universities can do to help attract more youth to join the field and perhaps cultivate our next generation of space scientists and engineers to take over in the coming years? And any other panelists are free to jump in.
Okay, well, I'm an academic, and this is what I have been doing, guiding students. The problem with university, we have the departmental, we have the wall, okay? And you look at anything like aircraft or a satellite, what kind of people you need to build this thing, okay? You cannot, so you need to have all kind of technical people to get together in the same room to do that, okay? Well, in my lab, I have students from all technical field, all STEM field. They happen to be in the same room so they can solve the problem, okay? Because, and that is the problem with the university structure. We go by departmental wall. Oh, this thing belongs to mechanical. Oh, this thing belongs to electrical. This thing belongs to computer engineering. No, it's a problem to be solved. And we need to recognize this. So, and that can be difficult, and if you look at modern university, then some universities, they don't have departmental structure, okay? They have this group, the group will form by a leader to investigate, to solve some problem, and that will come and go, okay? Like, for instance, you read the news, Stanford University just decide to open a school of something like earth science. I don't think it's called earth science, but they realize, the global change is a big thing, and they opened this new school to get people from different fields to solve the problems that we encounter right now. Because if you go to the departmental world, then you will never be able to get it done. Okay, so I think that's the key. The multidisciplinary thing. Okay. And you need to learn one another language, and forget about your ego, because when I talk to mathematicians or people who do simulation, they only care about math, somehow, and they don't care about, oh, what are you going to build and how are you going to improve that? So what about, you do the math, you do simulation, but this is the problem that you guys address, right? And then you have experimental and modeler, they work together, you go in a circle loop, improve things. Yeah, well, I'm coming back from US, so that's what I see. There is this mentality different between the North American and Asian speaker. And again, Asian, we still adapt a lot European culture to some extent. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Hien. Dr. Gia, since SpaceZab kind of deals a little bit with education, perhaps you can jump in on this question as well. What can we do to get more youth involved in the space industry? Oh, I think Dr. Gia, you're muted.
Sorry.
You have to
Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think there is a very large limitation regards space related activity in emerging countries, such as in shortage and attitude toward space career known as accessibility. For my point of view, the more effect by the encourage the teenage is to give them inspiration and encourage them with the excited experiment in the space sector. Yeah.
Maybe I can chip in.
Yes, of course, Dr. Mimi.
Do you think it's daunting? I don't think so. I think most of who coming here, they are really looking if they have chance to be part of the space industry. So actually, I think the youth nowadays are really eager to be part of the space race. I even have application from lots of application to work with my company, but because of budget, I have to limit that. And I think what we can see here, we already exposed to the space since kids. It started with a rocket, astronaut, then we can see that the awareness is there, but they don't know how to get there. So maybe what we can do is to show the way. The truth is, I can see the truth here in Asia, at least in Southeast Asians. I think the demand is more compared to supply. Meaning here, lots of the US want to work in the space industry, but we don't have enough industry yet. Meaning in the future, yes, we hope to see more and more companies emerge from this industry, and we can open more opportunities. But until we reach that time, I think there is some companies already hired the talent for their company. But you see that space industry is not only satellite and rocket, it's more than that. We have downstream, we have upstream. So maybe the awareness is more on the upstream, not downstream. So in the downstream part, the application of satellite, there's a lots of company actually. So you can involve in that company. For example, company that have a imaging for the satellite imaging. So they need to process the image. So they need data analysts for that. So people don't really see that it's a part of the space carrier, but it is a part of a space carrier. So maybe a kind of awareness to kind of job in the space area need to be implemented, the awareness to all the youth, so that they have very open mind to see that this industry have vast of variety of type of jobs to be fulfilled.
It's true. I think a lot of the fear for doing things stems from not really understand how to do it. And yeah, I think Dr. Mimi brought up a fantastic point, which is that the space industry is not just engineers and scientists, even though that is most typically known within the industry, but we have things nowadays, we have things like space lawyers and people who work on space policy, even the humanities. I myself am not an engineer or a scientist in any way. So it's really, there's really a career for everyone. You have space entrepreneurs, you have space doctors, even people who work on bioastronautics. So there's really kind of a bit of everything in the space industry if you take the time to go and look into it. But yeah, so I think talking about that, we kind of go into what kind of skills do you think our next generation of space experts would need to join the industry. And also there's always this kind of discussion about whether you think it's better to be a generalist in the sense that to have a wide variety of skills, or to be a specialist where you go into one specific field and go very in-depth into it. Dr. Hien, maybe if you want to jump in on that as a...
Okay, I think you just have to be good at what you do, and that's it. Okay, and like you just said, you know, space is not only for engineers and scientists, for everyone. Okay? You know, I mean, right now our Earth, okay, people are talking about, you know, going to Mars, going to the moon. Come on, reality, you know, we should protect our own mother. Okay, you know, all the issue about air pollution, plastic trash. Okay, what can we do about it? Okay, and you know, in one of the projects that I'm involved in, it is air pollution, and Europe, they try out this thing called citizen science approach. You know, everyone can make a difference. Okay, so let's say I build an air monitor, and I need you, anybody, to host it. You know, you can put in your balcony. Okay, and give us some power and internet. Okay, and then you will give me 1 data point from your place. Okay, and in the city I have 1,000 points. Okay, with that, then I can mine the data, and then I can keep the data back to the user, so they will know exactly where the hotspot. Let's say, you know, if you have asthma like me, then you want to travel on the road that have exposed this air pollution. Okay, these are the things that anybody can join and do. Okay, and but the thing is that the culture, there is a difference in culture between Europe and Asia. Okay, maybe in Asia we say, oh, that's not my business, I let the government do it. If they don't do it, then we should live with what we have. But you know, I think, you know, we if we care, then we should do something about it. Okay, and that need, you know, anybody. Okay, I mean, like scientists and engineers, they are dumb when it comes to business. They don't know how to sell their idea, right? Where to get a funding, carry on the project. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Hien. Maybe Dr. Gear, do you think it's better to, in terms of skill sets, is it better to be a generalist or a specialist in your opinion?
I think that's the both of a generalist and specialist are equal important in the space technology, because a generalist who has a good understanding of the wider sector and can identify the advantage. Generalist, for example, can vision the big picture of the project and think out of the box. So, and on the other hand, the specialist who is gain the knowledge or experiment in a particular field and is required for the special task. So I think the both are important for in the project. So being the generalist or specialist depend on your career path and what do you want to achieve to. Yeah.
I think I can agree with Dr. Jia. I think we need both. Sometimes we see things in the bigger picture first, then we narrow down and specific into something. So we need to be general. So we have this kind of fundamental that will shape us to be more specific, so we can solve that specific problem. And we know that space is kind of different as others. Yes, we learn about physics, but it came to the space is something like you have to focus on the space physics, the astrophysics part. So this is the specialty that we need, but we need this fundamental of physics. So you as a generalist, you need that. And for the skill set of the use that you need in this career, because I'm hiring, so I'm really looking this kind of trait, which is the first one. You have the critical thinking. You can look into the problem and try to solve it. You need to have this kind of curiosity, and from there, actually, you have to learn something new, which is not somebody need to ask you to learn about. So this is, we call that lifelong learning, which is you continuously learning about something. So this is very important. If you don't have this, I think you can't grow in this space industry, because we found something new every day in the space, about the space. So if we don't have this kind of the two kind of the skill or the trait, I think this is difficult to you to be in the industry.
Thank you, Dr. Mimi. And also, in case you didn't hear, Dr. Mimi is hiring everybody.
Hey, are you building something or what?
Pardon?
Are you building some hardware or what?
Oh, we are building hardware. We are building a small satellite, Pocket Cube.
Okay, well,
yeah, smaller than CubeSat.
Okay, yeah, I know. Yeah, okay, maybe we can talk. Okay,
yes.
I can certainly do that.
Yeah, so we do actually have a question from the audience that I thought would be quite nice to kind of pull in at this point of time, because I think a lot of our speakers here have quite a bit of an international experience, which is that is it easier and better to get involved in the space industry in other regions first? I'm guessing maybe more space active regions before coming back to the ASEAN region, which is largely considered space emerging, emerging space industry.
Okay, I will be frank. Okay, because I live most of my life in the North America and Europe. Okay, yeah. The so-called space agency in Asia, most of them are not affected. Okay, maybe I'm sorry to bring it up, but you know what happened to the space agency in Malaysia. Okay, I think 10 years ago they put in a lot of money for the remote sensing project. I think at the satellite they buy from South Korea, and I think it only worked for less than a month. Okay, that was like $200 million. Okay, I would rather use that money to train the young people and get them to build them. Okay, the first time they build will fail, right? But how do they gain experience? Okay, because in space industry, in space engineering, there is certain skill. They are not written in any book. Okay, that's why NASA they use the CubeSat, a platform to train young people. Okay, so they give a new engineer, to be a PI of a project of, let's say, $5 million. And then that person can be the next PI of a $200 million project, right? You don't get a person who never do anything to handle a big project, right? And they need to have the pipeline of people to go through, right? So let's say, how you put together a balloon and send it up, a 1,000 balloon and collect some data, because, up there, the temperature will drop down to minus 60 degrees Celsius, okay? So how do you get your electronic to work there for an hour or so? Okay, so the hand-on engineering, I think we need to train the young people, and like I said, I don't see the space agency of the different countries are doing their job. So maybe the space industry can do it. Like Singapore, they have, like I said yesterday, they have 2 university CubeSat lab now. At NTU, I mean, any undergraduate student, if they want to build a satellite, they can go to that lab and be a member.
Maybe I can chip in, because Dr. Hien talk about Razak. Razak. Yeah, we collaborate with Satellite from Korea. Maybe people don't see the benefit of this project, because the project, I can see, it's not really failed, it is stopped because of geotechnical reason. But after about 10 years or 20 years, this is 2009, if I'm not mistaken, and today I can say that the all engineers that are working in that company, working from Razak sites, is actually helping other countries to build satellite. So we already have expertise in satellite, but because we don't have program for the satellite program in Malaysia, they have to go outside to work. But now when there is a demand for them to be back to the country, they are back. They are working with Angkasa X, they are working with other company too. So it's not really something I can say fail for this Razak side. And I can't say it's really waste of money because we reap the benefit a few years after. People don't really see that, but people in industry who knows what happened know that there's a benefit that we already reap from there. And I can say that not only ATSB or the one that made the Razak site, but other company also doing something good. Then yes, the space agency needs support from the industry to make sure that industry will be better in the future.
Yeah, well, I'm just asking a question. Is SpaceIn Malaysia, the national government, have funding for any QSAT project right now?
No, I think now we are going to something more on the private and private government partnerships, meaning that not only government give the money, but university, we have one university, UITM, launched the satellite in 2018. The money come from the university itself. I having this problem. I think that about the funding from the government. Yes, we because the priority of the government different. But what we can do, we can't wait for the funding. That's the reason why I'm go for entrepreneurship, because I think by having a company, I can get more investor to invest and also to build a satellite.
Yeah, like like I know Thailand, they buy a 6U QSAT from I think from some country. It's for the Thailand Air Force. Okay, it's like a 30 by 20 centimeter. Okay, it's a 6U. Okay, 1U is 10 by 10 by 10 centimeter. Okay. Well, okay, I know I have a Vietnamese friend who is a dean of engineering of some school in Malaysia. I think at one of the school that the Australian friend, and there is a lot of Australian engineering, Australian school there in Malaysia, and he's the dean of the engineering and science school. I will get in touch with him, and after the COVID is over, I will try to pay a visit, and maybe we can start doing something together. Okay, because like you said, space is big. If my government here don't support me, then I will just go to other place. I'm running a QSAT program right now in the US. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Hien. Thank you, Dr. Mi. I think it's good to have a discussion about like how I think for space agency at least, there is of course a role that the space agency plays in every country. But then in Southeast Asia and like the ASEAN region, the space industry is a lot more diverse because we are still quite new into venturing into this industry. So there's a lot of opportunities for the industry to influence the policies that are coming out of the agency itself, which is nice to have some sort of contributing factor for like our community to contribute in some way. But yeah, maybe just to jump into the next question that we have, because we are a bit tight on time. But yeah, we are a bit tight on time. But for maybe Dr. Mimi and Dr. Gia, so both of you kind of had like a strong academia background to start, and then you transitioned into the industry. What was that transition like for you?
Dr. Gia first, maybe.
Yeah, maybe Dr. Gia, if you want to jump in.
So can you repeat your
you based on your background, you kind of had like a strong background in research and also working in academia before you transitioned into the industry itself, where working with the businesses and commercial aspect. What was that transition like for you?
in the transition to from the academic to the industry, right? So I think it's the first step is very difficult to to transfer to transit to this one, and but after that, after your first step, I think that is challenging to how to combine the academic background, your research, and convert to the business. I think that this is to challenge, and we it it must to use the communication aspect between the two parties from the background in the research and to transfer to business, right?
I think that, yeah. So I
very
think
exciting. I think life now, very interesting life. People think I'm crazy because doing so many things. This, like Dr. just said, is difficult. The first phase is very difficult. I need to juggling 2 jobs as academics and also as a founder for the company. When you become a founder, when you have a company, the first thing you need to think is about money, how you can pay your workers and everything. So I think every day I'm thinking about that. But the beauty of that is I can leverage my research with the work that I'm doing now as a founder for the SpaceIn. Before this, when I'm doing the research, I don't really think what is the commercial value for my research. But now, because I have to think that I have to sell something or have to create something in SpaceIn and sell that. So I'm using my position as researcher to research a new thing. And from there, I try to commercial that. So then I open more opportunities for the funding. Instead of only funding from the Ministry of Education, now I can go funding for something entrepreneurship related funding. So you can see that I'm the one to be success in both is try to leverage both. And also I really get a good support from my dean, because my dean give me 1 year leave for me not to teach for 1 year for me to start this business, and I'm start teaching next year. And this actually really helped me. So support from surrounding, support from the faculty is very important if you are a lecturer, but at the same time you are in the entrepreneurship journey. So what you can do is trying to look for the best between the two, try to leverage, and voila, you can do with the support of everybody.
Thank you, Dr. Mimi. Thank you, Dr. Gia. So before I jump into my last question, I thought maybe we could look at the questions from our audience. We have quite a number of them. So perhaps if one of our chat moderators can help out with that. Oh, maybe Brel? Is Brel there?
Yes, I'm here. Yeah. Okay, so one of the questions from the audience, to all speakers, would it be easier and better to get involved in the space industry in other regions first to gain experiences and network before coming back to the Asian region?
Oh, I think we might have addressed that question just now, like quite briefly.
All right, and then there's another question. What do you think will be the first step towards Asian collaboration in space or even space exploration?
I have experience on this, and I've seen that to have a collaboration between the space agency is quite difficult because of political background in each country are different. So we can start with the academics collaboration, university and university. And I can say that there's one collaboration between Malaysia University, UiTM, and also Philippine University. I can't remember the name of the university. They are building a CubeSat, ASEAN site, they call that. So we can see that the collaboration just started now. Then I can see of more collaboration when we have more companies involved, private companies involved in the space industry. Me, myself, I'm looking for the collaborator from Thailand, from Indonesia for my project. So you will see the more companies or the more organization will collaborate in this Southeast Asia region for this space industry.
Yeah. You can first.
Yes, well, I have been looking for these things, right? And I don't find a channel for communication between the Asian people. I know my colleague in Taiwan and South Korea are doing this, you know, because they have a very strong space agency. You know, I mean, like South Korea even have a mission to the moon. But, they have a clear mandate and they have a clear funding agency from their country. The other country, like I said, believe me, I have followed them. I have looked for all the news, but maybe there is no network like Dr. Norilmi was saying, you know. So if there is such thing, then you know they should, you know, then you know, I don't know. If more people know about it, and they can be involved. But you know, yes. Yeah.
In the SpaceZab is the way is same like Dr. Norilmi, because we collaborate with the researcher in the university, but we focus on different. We focus on the scientific payload, how the researcher to design some problem in the research. For example, we try to know the water bed, the gene of the water bed, how to protect the cosmic ray, and after that we try to set up and combine that, see like send it to the space for understand this, and we twist the model. After that we know the deeply in the research, but SpaceZab try to change that to the business. Some like this project we can convert to the cream for the skincare. It's same like a skincare. This is the point in the technique from the SpaceZab. Because we back out not have the satellite, but we back out the research in basic science, physics and biology, chemical and robotics and something like that. So we see the satellite or CubeSat same like a vehicle for take the research into the space and convert that. Right.
Thank you so much for your insights, Dr. Hien. So one more question would be, are there any avenue for training or work in the field of space medicine here in Asia?
I'm not really sure about the training avenue, but I know the research in previous research did by UiTM related to the space medicine for the ISS. So maybe need to Google about that, then maybe can connect with that particular lecturers that doing that kind of research. But the specific place for this training, I don't really see yet in Southeast Asia.
In the SpaceZab, we we join to the university, have a example. Now we will start the cancel. We send it to the ISS and we try to understand the code red and something like that in this side. And if we talk about in the how to start the medical space in the Asian, I think we must be collaborate with the university. You can finding the researcher experience is expertise special in this in the medical and joy, and if you want to start the how to go in the space, but in Thailand the SpaceZab we have provided the course that, but right now it's only Thai language. We will try to convert to international course, right? Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Mimi and Dr. Potiwat. Maybe what we can see is that for sure any space nation with human space flight would have an opportunity for training in space medicine, especially in Asia. And I think that's all from me from questions from the floor. I would like to hand back to Jillian. Thank you.
Thank you, Brel. Yeah, so I think also just to kind of add on to that last question, which is that there are actually a lot of ways to collaborate within Southeast Asia. I believe JAXA, which is the Japanese Aerospace Exploration Agency, has a lot of opportunities for ASEAN countries to send experiments up to the ISS. So you can always try to look into that as well if you're interested in doing so. But yeah, I think to kind of round up our panel today, I have my final question for the panel, for all the panelists, which is to kind of conclude, what is one tech or non-tech space advancement in the space industry that you are looking forward to seeing or want to see in the next 5 years? And maybe we can start with Dr. Hien on that.
What do you want to see in the next 5 years? For me, I want to see more data point for air pollution in South Asia, because that's a very serious phenomenon. It affects me, and I'm pretty sure it affects a lot of other people in South Asia. We need to know more about them. We need to be more awareness. We need to have real-time data. So like I said, should I go out right now or not? Because it may be the air pollution may be so bad in that part right now. I shouldn't go, because if I go there, I can have an asthma attack. So these are the science that I really want to get the people in South Asia to contribute. Like I said, be a citizen scientist. Anybody can do that. Yeah.
Dr. Mimi, if you want to come in with that.
I want to see the space sweepers start their job. Because people are really worried about the space debris now, and more constellation happen in space, and people start thinking, do you still have any space there? And astronomers start complaining they can't see really well. They are in their telescope. So I really hope in the 5 years they start doing the job to collect all the debris. But for the I think for the non-tech, maybe something more on the education side, because I think we still lack of awareness until today, even though we have lots of awareness event, but still it's lack of awareness. Because when I went to the rural area, they still not really know what is the benefit of space. We just waste our money for the space technology and all the thing. But now the space technology is necessity, especially when we are talking about internet. So I think the awareness, the education is very important.
Yeah, And I love that you mentioned like space sweepers. It was a pretty good movie, and I think that it's true. Like media plays a large role in inspiring a lot of our generation now.
This is
to
not
kind of
fact.
jump into
I think that's a combination, like media and technology. Then they have this kind of movie.
Yes.
But I want to see more, something like that.
Yes, it's great. And maybe Dr. Gear, you want to add in on that?
I like this movie because after my friend saw that, he called to me. Oh, I understand you what you talk about in debris, because before that I don't understand, but after I saw that I know that and how to invest this. And I'm looking for in the 5 years to see the space colony and the future of the long duration mammal space mission, which is very challenging our mankind. On the other hand, space tech and or applied space technology is more affordable and reachable to everyone. Some advancements in space science research, such as the sun cream for the space microbe, which can protect you from the danger of radiation, right?
Thank you, Dr. Gear. I think in summary, we can say that there's a lot of exciting things to look forward to in the next 5 years. And we've already touched on it several times throughout the session, that space tech and the space industry itself evolves extremely fast, and there's always new opportunities that come up almost yearly that we see. It's constantly changing. I think we also talked a little bit about how the region could use more awareness for the space industry, and I think that we might have, like our panelists here have done quite a bit in raising awareness to our youth in today's session, in this short 1 hour plus session today. And I'm extremely grateful for all the insight, and I'm very excited to see what you guys are doing in moving forward from this for our youth. You know, at the end of the day, don't be afraid to kind of venture in. There's no harm trying to get into the space industry. There's a lot more opportunities that you think are out there than you actually know of. You just need to do a bit of research, and I'm pretty sure our panelists would be happy to share more about it with you if you connect with them through their socials. Yeah, I think that is all from us for today. Thank you so much to our panelists for joining us, for taking the time out of your weekend to come on to join us for this 1 hour. And I hope that it has been a fulfilling and enriching session for everyone in the audience, as well as our panelists. And I wish everyone a good weekend, and stay safe, everybody.
Yeah, thank you. Let's start a balloon constellation. You know, every country launch an identical balloon. No, I'm seriously. You know,
yes.
To study evolution. It's there.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Hien. Thank you, Dr. Mimi, and thank you, Dr. Gia.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.